Hi, guys. Welcome to Real Food Recovery. We are on episode 18. Good to see you, Jamie. How are things going with you?
Good to see you too, Paige. Going good, going good. Excited to be here and talk about this topic.
We, I know we've got a great one, and it's about stress. And why do we talk about stress? We're supposed to be talking about food addiction, right? Well, stress is one of the branches of our tree of life because stress that's left unchecked can contribute to many health problems such as high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. This long term ongoing stress can increase the risk for hypertension, heart attack, or stroke. Repeated acute stress and persistent chronic stress may also contribute to inflammation in the circulatory system, particularly in the coronary arteries. And this is
Yes.
one pathway that is thought to tie stress to heart attacks. So, when it comes to our choices, we know that the stress pathway in the brain lays next to the craving pathways. So when stress is vibrated, that pathway, it activates the craving pathways. And I don't mean for celery sticks. I mean they are looking for the ultra
Yeah.
processed food. So, and did we forget to mention that anxiety and depression is also a side effect of stress? So
Yes.
far, which of these side effects do you choose to invite into your life?
You want to actually think of something that I just came across yesterday that I thought was so fascinating. Dr. Roizen, who's Chief Wellness Officer at the Cleveland Clinic, he's actually CWO emeritus now for them. He writes articles in major newspapers across the country every week. And his whole article was all about how French fries can cause depression and anxiety. And
Oh,
the title of the article is are French fries bumming you out? And essentially when you fry deep fry foods like potatoes, or breading, any kind of plant-based food, including a breading or a corn breading, those all turn into acrylamides, right? The actual components of the food are altered into acrylamides. These acrylamides are known to cause inflammation in the brain. Inflammation in the brain leads to depression and anxiety. So they have an actual measured result with people who are eating French fries on a regular basis,
wow.
and they have a lot of anxiety and depression. So just something to keep in mind.
That's you rolled all those words off your tongue like it was nothing. That was amazing, especially that big one that I have not ever heard of before.
I think I could even spell it if I had to. Amazing.
You are very smart. Yeah, I wish I had a way to tap into those weekly articles of his. That would be fascinating.
Yes,
Um,
he does for major papers across the country.
Amazing. So, when you start feeling that stress come on, are you able to recognize that you are starting to feel something coming on? For me, I love this question because I sometimes at first I feel something, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure. Okay, something's happening, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. I really have to walk it backwards and put my finger on what is it that's upsetting me. Like when you're missing your car keys, you literally have to trace your steps backward. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to label what's happening and go, oh, okay, this is what started that funny feeling in my chest. That's what's
Uh-huh.
really bothering me. Are
Mm-hmm.
you able to recognize
You know,
stress?
yes. So I have done a lot of work in this, and there's a lot more to do. I've just started to kind of connect the dots for myself. I used to have the stress response of the rapid heartbeat, and I still do
Mm-hmm.
have the stress response, rapid heartbeat, racing thoughts, a lot of energy coming up out of my, sternum and stomach area. Like I used to block my voice, right? I'd block it with food, or I'd block it, with my own
Oh,
energy to kind of, because I didn't think I had a voice, or I didn't think that my voice counted. And what started to happen is when I found my voice, I had a lot of stored trauma, right? In that area of my body, right? Between my shoulders and my stomach. My whole torso had tons of energy stored in it because it was years of keeping it in. So it would just try to come out and it would erupt, and I would call it like my volcano. So those are examples, somatic examples, but body grounded examples of where my energy would come from. And I had to get in touch with it so that I could begin to release it in healthy ways, in ways that wouldn't hurt me in, compulsive behaviors like eating, or it wouldn't hurt others with words I was slinging around.
Mm-hmm. That you kind of answered the question of how does stress affect you. For me, I would feel a little tightness in my chest.
Yeah.
It's hard to concentrate. I mean, I can't think straight when I'm under stress. You get this pit in your gut. It's just horrible. You feel very out of control of our circumstances. So that's kind of how it shows up for me. Any other additional?
It shows up in it's sort of like when you see somebody who's binging on like alcohol or binging on drugs or maybe even binging on junk food. You say and do things you wouldn't normally say and do.
Mm-hmm.
You say things that nothing, like for me, it's nothing like, illegal, but it's things that I wish I didn't say. It's things that I wish I didn't do. It's assumptions I wish I didn't make. Right. It's not me in my right mind. It's me in my amygdala, my lizard brain reacting from that place.
It's good that we're talking about this because we're in the moment. You have to think, how do I handle this? And what do you do when you're in that moment? And for me, like I mentioned before, I cannot think straight under that type of stress. I have to start slowing things down in my mind so I can think straight. Laughingly, I almost go into a catatonic state because I need to just literally slow things down that much. I just start processing things so that I can think them through in a quiet brain. I just need a minute. You hear that phrase, just give me a minute. And sleeping on things helps, but you don't always have a nice rest to process things, but just slowing it down.
Huge. The pause is huge. You do it naturally. I was, for many years, sort of, it was modeled for me. And then I just started doing it, where I would do it out of just reactivity, right? I would pause and I would react.
Yes. Yeah. We've all been around those people that just go from 0 to 100. Isn't it fun to be around those people? They are just so enjoyable.
Grew up around those people. So,
and they're so rational.
Yeah.
They're so rational at 100 and so productive. There's so much gets accomplished.
Yes.
So, speaking of 0 to 100, stress is one thing, but do you have that kind of red flag warning that indicates, okay, this is getting past my limits, past what I'm physically, emotionally, mentally able to handle? For me, this doesn't happen often because I'm pretty flatline with my emotions. I don't have those 100 moments. Rarely in my life have I had that where people always say, oh, I was just mad I didn't meet it. I cannot tell you one time in my life where I have ever said, I was just mad I didn't mean it. I don't have that personality. If I'm mad to that point, it takes so much to get me there. I guarantee you I mean it. So, but I know my head will start pounding a little bit, like it's going to shoot off my shoulders. And it upsets me when I can't simmer myself down. Sleep is difficult. I don't like, that's so uncomfortable for me that instead of going to 100, I go to 0.
Right.
What about you? Do you have red flag warnings?
Yes. Well, the volcano, like we talked about, that's a red flag for me, feeling that volcano. Now, when I feel that volcano, I know I need to pause. I need to walk away. I need to do some self-talk and some self-soothing and get myself to a place where I can interact with another human in a way that's kind and calm. But now the other side of that coin is when I've had too much stress, but it's little, like sort of, little cuts, right?
Yeah.
That stress me out, little things that build up and build up and build up. I will get to a place where I feel totally burned out.
Yeah.
And I will get to a place where I just want to kind of close the door to everything for a moment, have, I'm done, I'm checking out, and take some time, and I'll be really assertive about doing that. Like, hey,
so smart.
I need some space. I need some time to decompress.
Let's talk about some examples of when that has happened. I will start out with sharing a very personal story, going back to when I've talked on here about that my husband had sepsis a year ago. And that's when we found out that because of lack of circulation during those first few days, plus some medications, deep narcotics he was on for all the pain and all those things combined, was a perfect storm that he would end up losing both of his lower legs. So that was when they came in the room and gave us that information. I mean, the room started spinning. It's almost as if those words were hands and put their hands on my chest and shoved me backwards. Those words actually shoved me off balance. And I remember like stumbling backwards, reaching for a chair because my knees just started to buckle out underneath me. I think I was in total shock, just trying, how your brain only allows so much information at a time. Did you know that is literally a physical thing? That's how it's protecting you. And so I was just trying to slowly absorb and again, start slowing things down. So we started reaching out to the kids was my first inclination. So I knew I wasn't in it alone.
Right.
So that was helpful. And I just needed a minute to gather myself. And then I went straight into the fact-finding mission because the other area is so uncomfortable. I'm much more comfortable with shifting my brain to, okay, what are we going to do next? Can he come home? I had no clue what was in front of us. What will this look like moving forward?
Right.
I just started making a list of questions. Will he ever walk? Will he ever drive? Will he be wheelchair only? Can he work? Can he care for himself? My mind was just swirling with desperation for information.
Right.
So gathering information always helps me settle my brain. And then I just need a few days to sit with this to determine how I feel, because in those high stress situations, I have no idea how I feel.
Right.
That's why these people that go straight to 100, you don't even know what you're at 100 about yet.
Exactly.
Let's continue talking and getting more information, and then we'll determine how I feel. I'm a very slow processor. That's where I'm most comfortable. Do you have any examples for you?
Well, and I love, that story is always amazing to me. Just hearing not only the actual moving nuts and bolts of the story, but also hearing your thought process, your emotional processing of the whole, the way it played out is just fascinating to me. I am learning in recovery that I'm a very slow processor. And I think I spent so much of my life reacting to things because that's what was modeled for me. Growing up, many reactors in the family. And the ones that I saw on a regular basis were all reactors. And the ones that I'd see here and there, they were more processors, but I didn't have them modeling on a regular basis.
Right.
So, and again, when I started to look at, hey, I need to process this, I was so busy reacting that I never really stopped and thought, I need to process this. And so now I realize that I might have some initial thoughts and I need to take time and sleep on it, process it. Sometimes it takes me a full day, even from a conversation that most people wouldn't think twice about. Sometimes it'll take me a full day to come back to it and be like, okay, there are some things about that I really want to revisit. My husband loves that, by the way. When I come back to him a day after we talked about something that he didn't think was a big deal, and I'm like, I had some time to think. He's like, oh boy, okay, here we go. It's whole, but it helps me, right? And he listens. And he's non-judgmental, but it helps me versus my initial reaction could be, something that I'm not comfortable with because I haven't really thought through it.
Smart. So what advice would you give someone who is stressed out. Do you want to share what you do?
Sure. When I think about it, I've had unfortunately just traumatic childhood and traumatic, death of loved ones, that we weren't expecting. And so when I have those stressful moments in life, and I've had more than my fair share, I'd say, and I'm now to the point where it's like, go ahead, hit me. I'm good. I've got lots of experience life. Come on, give me your best shot.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'd say now is breathe,
Yeah.
pause. I ask God, I ask, for help. I ask for guidance. I ask for strength. Then I wait. I just wait. And I respond after the fact. Because when I go 0 to 100, those days of going 0 to 100, I might not have taken it out on someone else, but in my mind or my body, I was 0 to 100. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I was, screaming and raging at others, but I was feeling all of those, over the top feelings in my body.
Yeah.
And I was not able to make rational decisions. I was not able to stop and think. What I've learned in recovery is that the first thoughts I have are typically compulsive responses to a situation. They are, go talk to this person, go tell them that, go do this, don't do that, go eat this, go shop that, leave, right? Those are all my amygdala responses. What I'm learning is to wait and to let those first compulsive thoughts go, and then see what the calmer thoughts that replace them, what those are.
Wise. Huge, huge. One thing that I do, and I don't know if this is just an automatic human response, but it seems like the very first thing I do is to either tell people or myself, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. This is going to work out. The one advantage for me of being on the other side of 50 and now a few months away from 60 is that you learn a very big life lesson in that things always work out. They just do. They just, in general, things just work out, especially to those who are showing up and trying. That's just the way the world works in general. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't take time, but as humans, we are pre-wired to adapt and adjust.
Yes.
That's just how we're engineered. So in general, it's okay to stay calm and just wait a minute, hang on.
Right.
This is going to work out. It's going to be okay. And it's very soothing to the brain, even if you're still in chaos right then, just to hear that little message. Don't worry.
Yes.
It's going to be okay. Hang on.
Yes.
Just hang on.
Yes.
Good things are coming. Good things are coming. Good things are coming.
Yes. And that's a good lesson to remember and to reinforce, is that, most of the time things do work out, but there was a time in my life when I would make such a wreckage of life, or I'd make such compulsive decisions that I would call it imploding, right? My life, I would kind of from the inside, I would, destroy certain things or destroy certain opportunities in my life, because I was living in self-will, and I was living in, like, from a place of trying to control everything, that I would over engineer and I would over insert myself in life, and I would end up underdoing or overdoing, and it would create a lot of wreckage in my life. So yes, things always do work out. If you, like you said, it's not easy, and it does take time. But when I was living like I was living in the past, which was impatience and strong arming my way through life, things didn't always work out, because I would not have the ability to just wait and let them happen. I would try to strong arm them.
So here's what I love about your story is the life lessons that you have walked away from. And how do I know that? Because you're here telling the story now. And so sometimes, for example, to bring this full circle, I wonder if you would be where you are today had you not, hit your head against the wall so many times earlier. Would you have learned the same life lessons? Or I mean, do you see what I'm asking you?
Yes.
Did it have to happen that way for you in order to learn, to get
Uh,
you to where you are?
Knowing the way that I'm wired, yes, because I'm very headstrong and stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
Very headstrong and stubborn. And again, when I was coming from a place of fear, it was what was modeled for me, what was shown to me, what the family of origin, its culture of origin, lived from a place of fear. So when you're in fear, trying to control everything,
Yeah.
and you try to control, you really, you're not in the flow of life. You don't see how
Mm-hmm.
things always work out. You're not waiting around for them always to
Totally.
work out.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that discussion about, yes, it did work out for you and it did probably work out the best, but it hurt. There were some bumps and bruises along the way. It was a rocky ride. And
Mhm.
so everybody's path looks different. You can zigzaggedy here or zigzaggedy there. And every once in a while we'll cross our zigzags and, there might be a straight little spot spell. And then you go back to swervy curvies and
Yep.
that's what life looks like, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So, what does it mean to manage stress? Now we're talking like we're experts. Now that we've had these life lessons, before we go forward, don't you find too, as you get older, you're like an old dog who just kind of relaxes a little bit more?
Yes.
You settle
Yes.
down, you
Yes.
settle down and don't get as worked up.
Yes.
So, that kind of leads into what does it mean to manage your stress? And I think for me, it means to be able to take it on without affecting your daily living and preoccupying your mind, accept it
Yes.
for what it is and deal with it. Even if it's not something you can change, if you can just accept it for what it is without attaching too much emotion to it. That's what it means to me to manage stress. What does it mean to you?
Processing emotions for me, and that really starts by accepting what is, right, accepting that I can't change a certain situation if I'm not
Mhm.
the one, in control of it. I can only accept what is and process what's happening inside of me, validate the emotions, get in touch with what I'm feeling, ask for guidance. I ask God for guidance, I pray for guidance, and then I take action from a place of I've taken care of my emotional needs and I've taken care of myself. And now I'm going to go ahead and take action with another person. That's, or if I do it backwards and I try to take action with the other person before taking care of my emotional needs, I usually have an amends to make. I usually have an
Look at that.
apology to do.
Mm-hmm. Very, very smart. I love that advice. You gave a one-liner the other day about processing emotions. Do you want to repeat that? That was golden stuff. Can you do it?
I don't know that I can repeat it exactly because it wasn't really me saying it, but essentially it's the process of acknowledging what emotions I'm feeling and where they are showing up in my body or in my different parts of me. And then accepting them, accepting those emotions and accepting that it's reality that that this was, sort of given to me. This was life on life's terms. And then pausing and going inside of my own psyche and taking time for myself to process what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, where it's coming from. Is it coming from something today or something in the past? And
Mm,
and spending time with those, if it is something from the past, and it usually is, if I'm having a strong emotion, I will go back in and address that situation and talk to that part of me that's still carrying those emotions and figure out where they're coming from, remind them that I've got us, God's got us, we've got everything we need, that that was then, this is now. And then letting it go to the point of I've controlled what I can control,
yeah.
and now let's see what the universe does.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. One of the things that you had mentioned the last time and today as well is just seeing what the emotion is and what does it need? How can I take care of you? What can I do to help you,
Mm-hmm.
simmer back down? So thank you for resharing that. I thought that was great. So is there anybody in your life that taught you to manage stress? Did you just come to it on your own through life experiences? I know I didn't really have anybody sit me down and say, this is how you manage stress. I've just seen so many examples of bad behavior. And I knew being out of control was the opposite of helpful. Plus, I need to be able to think clearly. So no one and everyone has taught me how to manage stress. We were on this tour uh, somewhere out of town. We were visiting these antebellum homes, and this old guy was by himself, old crotchety guy,
Yeah.
by himself on this tour. He's one of those guys that has sandals with black knee socks on.
Yeah.
Sorry if that offends anybody. It's just too funny. And it's part of the story. And it's still to this day what we talk about. But he was getting frustrated because these women we were going room to room to room to room. And these women were asking too many questions of the tour guide. And
How dare they on a tour ask
I
questions?
know. He was getting so impatient. And so he goes, gosh dang it. When somebody asked one more question, he said the swear word, and my husband and I were dying. Believe me, my husband and I were thinking the same thing because they were going on and on. This tour was taking too long, but he was ready to blow his lid. We laugh about that. That guy was stressed. He needs to listen to our podcast because he was not doing a good job. And he had to be a retired old guy. So I don't know what his problem was, but he was done with the questions.
Who knows? And that's the thing. It's like you can, well, that's ask where your power is, right? I would have turned to him and said, where's your power? You can keep walking to the next room. You don't have to see off the hang back here.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not trapped in the tour prison. You can move on to the next room and take it in yourself.
That I have to tell this one other story. We were in Colorado at the there's an Olympic training or military training center there. And we were on this tour and it was taking a long time. And I'm like, man, how much longer? And we had the kids and they were getting restless. And my husband turns to me and he said, they can't keep us here. So, okay, I had a way out. It changed everything. I felt completely different after I knew I had a way out. What about you?
I love it. So I, of course, because I have a story about that I want to share with that. But I'll say when I was growing up, I wish I had your mindset growing up. You looked at these people and going from 0 to 100 and emotionally dysregulated and thought, why would I go there? And I looked at that as that's what the family does. Wow. That's very scary to me. I'm going to go hide in the corner over here. Mm-hmm. And I had a parent that raged. I had, family members that raged. And there wasn't just raging, there was, physical and emotional abuse. And there was even abuse. Once I had a parent that we were stuck in traffic and trying to get to some tourist area in Virginia. And he was so upset that he got out and tore the antenna off of his car, his own car. And
dummy.
It was just like, the whole thing was just insane.
You showed that car.
Yeah. It just was like, but that's what, and my family like laughs at these stories and they think it's so funny. I just think it's so sad. Like, it's not something to celebrate. It's not something to laugh at. It's something that's to me, it's so sad. And
not funny at the time.
And so I grew up learning that was how you responded to stress and things you can't control. You just get angry. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that was something that it was a choice that I had, and I didn't have to go there. And so there was two sides of my family. There were the folks that got really angry, and then the folks that fawned over the folks that got really angry. So there was never somebody that was like, that I remember as a young adult or a child that was old enough to understand. There was not a member of the family, other than, from what I understand, I did have one grandfather who was a voice of reason in his old age. By the way, not in his youth, but in his old age, he was. People would talk about, grandpa would have come, with the voice of reason. And I'm like, I don't remember that. I take your word for it, but all I remember is the raging and the fawning. Right. So there's that. So I had to learn that stress responses, the adult child syndrome, the emotional dysregulation, those are not just given to us. They're choices that they're programming that we can choose to overcome. That we can learn new ways to regulate ourselves. And so I'm proud to say that I'm learning that and applying that. And, it was a funny story. My husband and I were at a concert Well, we were trying to get into a concert. This was back a few months ago, and they had 3 of like 8 doors blocked and closed, and it was getting time for the concert, and it wasn't even going to be an opening act. It was like a major headliner. So,
Oh, wow.
he need an opening act. So we're standing there, trying to get in, and nobody's letting us in. And there's people inside, security people inside, right inside these glass doors. And we're looking at them like, we have tickets. Let's just let us in. Like, we're good. Like, just open these doors and we'll come in and everyone can see the concert and everyone will be happy. They would not do it. They would not do it. And, my husband, of course, I married someone who does have some emotional dysregulation lessons to learn. And he was just like, like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. And I'm just standing there watching it all. I'm just watching it all and trying to stay out of it. Right. Because I'd love to go in, but I'm not going to like get upset about it. So my husband just turns to the people around him. He's like, what are they going to do? Put us in concert jail? Just push your way in. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to end up on the news or arrested. Like, what is that? Why are you inciting the mob? Or inciting the mob. So anyway, They didn't listen to him, and we all found a different door. But
wow,
I was laughing. I'm like, of course I'm married to the one person that's going to incite a riot outside an Elton John concert.
Of all places.
All the feathers and the boas and the sequins were flying. Right. And there's my husband, with his, live free or die mentality.
Well, I hope you eventually got in.
We did. We found another door. We got in. We just ignored what the crowd control. We found another door, got in, and nobody was the wiser, and all was well.
Yeah.
And the concert was great.
Wonderful. Do you have anything else to add about stress before we're going to finish on a high note by talking about things that relieve stress? Anything else you want to say before we?
No.
So ladies, listen up. I've got something interesting that you might want to know. Science tells us that women take on more stress than men, because in addition to working, they have many of the household responsibilities. In addition to childcare and elderly care, they have all of the things that come in life that they have to take care of. Don't shoot the messenger, people. Take it up with science. But ladies, you do, if there is a winner, if you want to be the winner, then you are the winner as far as who gets dibs on being most stressed out. Science will tell us it's the ladies.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you can change that, Step it up.
Pitch in, do more.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm being silly. We're going to focus on a few little things that you can do. We've got 20 tips that are really, I think, very pivotal, especially for people that have difficulty with managing stress. Number one, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but focus on what you can control and release what is out of your control.
Yes. Huge. Number 2, label your stress. Name your stress. It starts the process of putting it under control. So that's the whole idea of validating feelings, giving you concrete things to work with. Mm-hmm. Identify it, separate it from yourself, and consider, right? So it's like, hey, I'm feeling this. It's not who I am. It's what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And how am I gonna move forward now?
Yeah. No, I love what this brings up about labeling it. It seems like if you can label it, then you can do something about it. The same with our first one, is focusing on what you can control and release what you can't. Yep. Once you identify those, there's something very freeing about what you do with it at that point, because it's organized in the brain, what's going on. So exactly. So the next one, number 3, is breathing exercises. I love where you put a hand on each cheek and say, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, 3 times. So there's lots of options to choose from when it comes to breathing exercises.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you have any that you practice?
Yes. Box breathing, or just deep breathing in vagus nerve stimulation, anything like that. I'm using my diaphragm to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is one of my favorites, say a prayer, a quick meditation, or an affirmation. Again, I'm okay, that helps. We're okay, all is well. Those help, but also asking, right, God, I need your help here.
Yeah.
I've heard the shortest prayer in the world is the word help.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard it put that way too, but I agree with that. Very smart. Number 5, take a walk or a full workout. Even just 20 minutes helps, but there is something that happens in the brain when you start the endorphins moving. You're able to gain perspective again and put things again like in their proper drawers in the brain where they need to go.
Mhm.
And walking and movement, like I said, a hard workout would be great if you're up to it, but just movement, very, very helpful.
Yes, agreed. I love this one. Snuggling your pet. I am absolutely a believer in that. I have 2 little dogs who I adore. One of them is a puppy, so he's too busy. He's busy. He's got things to do. He's not as much of a snuggler, but our older dog, he's 4, and he is just all about the snuggles and the people and the love and the, connection, touching you of some way, or you touching him. It's a non-negotiable, but the puppy's like, I got things to do. I'll see you later. I've got this toy over here, or I've got to go pee over there. Like, I've got things to do. And he's not a snuggler. It's so funny, but yes, that always calms me. Always.
Yeah. So number 7 is take an at-home personal day. So I know this can be advice, but sometimes I don't know if you've ever found this to backfire, if it's too quiet or you're too bored, if blueness sinks in a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to preface this with, if that works for you and if you can, and if it's helpful, then take an at-home personal day and just, veg out on the Mindy projects on Netflix or something like that.
Great show.
Something funny.
Great show. Yeah, I agree. This is a great thing for number 8, cut corners where necessary for the time being. Great, good, better, best. It's the idea of, and I do this all the time. I got so stressed out when I was buying, big heads of broccoli and cauliflower, and every Sunday night I would, is like cut it, chop it, wash it. It was, and I would, and then lay out, and then I had to put it away in baggies. It was a whole thing. And now I'm just like, no. I transferred to all glass in my refrigerator. And now what I do is, the minute I get home, I take it out of the plastic and put it right in glass. And I buy the stuff that's pre-cut and pre-washed. It's a few more dollars, but honestly, it has brought me so much calm. And now I don't have any kind of a reason to say I don't want to eat my vegetables, because they're washed and cut and literally ready to be cooked or eaten raw. Right in the fridge. Yep. And also, something else I've been doing is letting my hair go natural. That's brought me a lot of calm, because I know that my hair is less stressed. Gosh, I have so many things conditioning my hair now. I can't even tell you. Wearing clothes that are comfortable, that, look nice and you feel good in, but they're comfortable clothes. That's important. Buying part of your dinner, when I was eating meat, there was lots of times that you could pick up a rotisserie chicken and have half of your dinner done for you when you got home. And that was something that you could do as an option, right? You could pick up cooked meats. And for me, having beans in a can, they get the job done when I need the job to get done now, right?
No, so
I'd rather have them prepared myself, but I have them in the can when I need them. Yeah.
I love that about cutting corners when necessary. Totally. If it's beans and rice, fine. Exactly. That's right.
That's my Thursday night dinner, as a matter of fact, beans and rice and a bunch of greens.
Oh, that sounds great.
And it's the fast, because I have 45 minutes to make and eat dinner on Thursdays. And that is exactly how that happens.
Have I told you about how I do my rice? I put 2 cups of rice with however much water. I don't know off the top of my head. And I divvy it out into 8 containers, and I will have 8 days of rice ready to go. It'll last 8 days. So bada boom, bada bing.
It's amazing.
Oh, okay. Number 9, instead of watching the news tonight, watch Emily in Paris or your favorite sitcom. It's good to get a good belly laugh, or listen to a favorite podcast like Real Food Recovery's latest episode.
That's right. Always a good thing. Learn how to knit. This is something I've done in the last couple of years. Anything to do using my hands, right? doing
Right.
crafting, or for me, it's cooking or food prep. That also kind of calms me down. You can scrapbook, you can cross stitch, you can do crossword puzzles or traditional puzzles. And research found that creating art for 45 minutes noticeably lowered cortisol levels in the saliva of 39 people in a 2016 study and from the Journal of Art Therapy. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
What else you got, Paige?
So,
We'll be quick on these last 10.
okay. Listen to music. And I'm not a huge music person. That doesn't move me as much as listening to like a podcast or something like that. But for most people, it is. I do like to watch American Idol. So that's fun for me.
There you
So
go.
listening to music.
I do this every week, do yoga. Love it. It's a perfect Friday night activity for me. I love doing yoga after a long week at work.
I agree. Try to limit the ruminating thoughts. Easier said than done. But if you can go, okay, we're going too much over it and over it. Let's just slow things down, write it out on a piece of paper if it won't keep spinning in your head, and then you've got it written down. So try to limit ruminating thoughts.
Yeah, agreed. Try to set aside 20 minutes a day for me time. Take a nap, sit in your car alone, browse social media. Yeah, just something to turn your brain off. It's important to do. My husband has to do it every day he gets home. He'll spend 30 minutes to an hour just shutting his brain off and some time. He'll do crossword. He'll do some of the word puzzle games, and then he'll just scroll. Right? It's not my ideal way to spend time. I'd rather take a nap. But
yeah,
I
can spend those 20 minutes with my eyeballs closed.
Exactly.
So another way is to help others. There's nothing that makes you feel better than serving someone else in need. It really fills up your cup and takes the focus off your own problems and puts things into perspective. Even if it's just sending a word of encouragement to a friend, that really does make you feel tremendously better.
That helps me get out of the best advice. I think it's the best advice I've ever gotten in recovery. This was when I was, cruising into the 12-step rooms, and I really needed help. And I had a sponsor back then, when I would text her my ruminating thoughts about whatever was going on that I couldn't control, she would just say, get out of self and go help someone.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, what do you mean? What do I do? She's like, I don't care. She said, just go text someone, go call someone that you're thinking of, go and connect with someone. So when I would do that, it gets out of self. So I still do that to this day. If I'm thinking or overthinking about something, I'll be like, okay. And then I'll just text someone, how are you? What's up? Or follow up on something that's going on in their life. It always makes me feel better.
Yeah. Making a gratitude list. Gratitude is an essential part of well-being, even or especially when stressed. Making a gratitude list, I think that's very important. Even if you just close your eyes and sit in a chair for 5 minutes and think happy thoughts.
That's right. Go. If you're not into something, like that man in the Antebellum home tour, if you're not into it, just no one's making you stay. Just move on. Leave the party if you're not into it. It's okay. You might have days where you need people, and you might have days where you need to not be around people. So just be in touch with that.
Yeah, a little bit of alone time helps, doesn't it? Or smaller groups of people. So taking a bubble bath or one filled with Epsom salt apparently will relieve stress.
It does. Epsom salt baths relieve stress every time I use them. Make meditation part of a daily routine. It works great in the moment, but it's also a good practice to incorporate daily. I agree with that. Here's the thing with meditation for me, sitting there with my eyes closed when I'm in spinny thoughts is like torture. So for me, I'm very visual. So I like to do mirror work instead, where I actually have a conversation with those parts of me that are feeling whatever's causing the stress. I will have conversations and love on those parts of me, either hugging myself or touching my face or talking to me lovingly. And that to me is a form of meditation, because it calms me down. It makes me feel much more connected to myself and connected to the present moment. And but that's just me, because being alone with my thoughts, or even knowing that they're moving across the sky of my mind, it doesn't connect with me. What connects with me is actually connecting with me.
Oh, I love how you said that. Well put. Last one, sip on some warm herbal tea. It can create a sense of warmth and coziness In addition, the aroma can be super pleasing to the senses, caffeine free, of course, and even made better
Yes.
sitting by a fire.
Yes.
So those
Agreed.
are the ones we came up with. If you have suggestions of what you do when you are stressed, we would love to hear them and be able to share them with others. So please leave comments. So, we're all in this together, and I want to know what you do. It's important to me.
Agreed. Me too. And, thank you, Paige. This is a great, great topic and a really important
Yeah.
topic. Anywhere on social media, let us know what you do for stress management. We want to build a community of folks who are maybe stress warriors, right? Stress management warriors.
Right.
We want to know what you guys do. So,
Yeah.
Paige, good to see you.
Beautiful. You
Thank you for another
too.
episode of Real Food Recovery. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.